Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm with the czar of the playbook, Emery Hunt, and I'm Tyler Merkovich, and this is our 2010 Big 12 season preview. Start out with the Baylor Bears. Have not been bowling since 1994 when they went to the Alamo Bowl. They were 4-8 last year, but hopes diminished when the starting quarterback Robert Griffin went down with ACL tear. He is now back. Art Briles, formerly of Houston, now enters his third year. Jay Finley's their running back. They have a JUCO-infested offensive line. They allowed 31 sacks last year, but with Robert Griffin back there, hightailing out of the pocket and making plays with his feet, it's probably not going to be that hot.
Yeah, they should benefit from a healthy Griffin and a healthy Jay Finley back there in the tailback spot. But you're right, that inexperienced O-line could prove to be detrimental. But good thing about they're all huge, all over 300 pounds, all about 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", like that. And also the question wide receivers, can Sampson and Wright be prolific? Because you know they lost a lot of talent last year in that receiving corps.
And on defense, they were getting gashed against the run, 179 rush yards per game allowed, and they only had 18 sacks, so they failed to get to the quarterback. Penn State transfer Phil Taylor, the nose tackle, really didn't live up to the hype, but now he's his second year in the system. Antonio Johnson's their linebacker. They have two cornerbacks, Clifton Odom and Chance Casey, who are going to be promising, but the two young guys who are true freshmen, Ahmad Dixon and Prince Kent, are going to try to help out that secondary.
Well, expect the more athletic linebacking core, and keep an eye on linebacker Chris McAllister. He's a talented playmaker, very athletic, should come in right away and provide some spark in that back seven. But you also look at their big up front, but they need more production. You mentioned Phil Taylor, kind of, didn't do well last year, but they need him to come up and step up big, especially to help out their defense in the secondary. A lot of big-time recruits, so you want to keep an eye on a true freshman, Ahmad Dixon, 6'1", 190, should help bolster that secondary.
The Oklahoma Sooners coming off an injury-riddled season, and they could not stay healthy. They ended up 8-5 with a Sun Bowl victory over Stanford, but the good thing is that Landry Jones got a lot of experience, and he is now going to be starting quarterback for the Sooners for the next couple of years. DeMarco Murray, very versatile, second-team All-League. Ryan Broyles, second-team All-League also. He's that poor man's Marvin Harrison in college football. But Jarvis Jones and Stephen Good lead a offensive line. They only had 135 rush yards per game. The year before in 08, 199. So they need to get back to running the ball a little more, especially with Landry Jones.
Well, that depth across the offensive line will prove to be the strength of that team. A lot of guys got playing time last year, so that's going to help out that offense a lot. Landry Jones continued maturation this season. Can he take the next step? That's number one. And also, if DeMarco Murray can be healthy for the full season, that's going to help out that offense tremendously. Outstanding running back, one of the best running backs, if not the best running back in the country.
And Brent Venables, their defensive coordinator, always has players to work with. Only 93 rush yards per game last year. They surrendered. Jeremy Beal, third-team All-American defensive end. Adrian Taylor, defensive tackle. And Jamarcus McFarland, the sophomore, all breakout players for the Sooners. Travis Lewis, of course, linebacker. And their secondary led by Quentin Carter, Sam Proctor, cornerback John Nelson. So they also have a great punter. So this defense is loaded.
Now, the secondary may be the weak spot. Corners in particular, they need somebody to step in that cornerback to be a playmaker that they used to have back there for the Sooners. And also the young players on the D-line will have to step up and make plays. You mentioned sophomore D-tackle Jamarcus McFarland. He has to come in right away and play lights out in order to have that stoutness up front as you used to seeing out of a Sooner defense. In the linebacking, I'm interested to see middle linebacker Tom Ward. Redshirt freshman, he has to bounce back from injury. He was supposed to be an outstanding talent last season but got hurt. So I'm interested to see how he's going to do this season for the Sooners.
Oklahoma State coming off a pretty good 9-win season. Despite all the turmoil with the wide receiver Des Bryant, they lost the Cotton Bowl to Ole Miss. But Mike Gundy, entering his 6th year, really knows how to put up points. Brandon Weeden takes over for the athlete Zach Robinson, who's a great quarterback for them. Kendall Hunter is back, first-team All-American 2 years ago. Hubert Anyam, their wide receiver, he was their leading receiver last year because Bryant went out, so he's a wide receiver to look forward to. Lance Taylor, their right guard, is the only returning starter.
Well, I look at the offensive line. Can Nick Martinez, the left tackle, step in and fill the shoes left by Russell Okung? I know it's going to be a huge shoes to fill, but he has to come in and play competent to help out the passing game. And Kendall Hunter has to return to his 08 form, 1,500 yards. He had an injury-riddled season last year. So this year he's healthy. Expect him to be the top back in the country. He's my top back for the 2011 draft. Kendall Hunter is a top running back in this country. Outstanding playmaker. And can wide receiver Justin Blackman blossom into a starting wide receiver?
Well, defense coordinator Bill Young did a great job last year, even though the defense was still inconsistent. 96 rush yards per game last year, 3 yards per carry, and they improved their points per game mark on defense by more than 6 points. but they lose their top 4 tacklers. They get back redshirt linebacker Ori Lemon after he got hurt last year, so he's a linebacker to build around. Sean Lewis, true freshman also. Those are 2 good linebackers. Markel Martin had 11 pass breakups at strong safety, and defensive tackle Hugo Chinasa is going to be look forward to breaking out this year.
Yeah, and I love their secondary. I love the athleticism of their secondary. You want to keep an eye on true freshman DB Justin Gilbert, a guy who's going to come in and play right away. Also, you mentioned the linebackers, talented group, but also you want to keep an eye on redshirt freshman Joe Mitchell, 6'3", 210, the guy who's going to come off the edge and provide that pass rush from the linebacking position. And I worry about the interior defensive line for the Cowboys. Teams are able to run the football down their throat. That has to step up, and that all falls on Shane Jarka. Has to step up big this year.
Well, the Longhorns coming off a tough defeat in the BCS Championship last year. Mac Brown, of course, still their coach, and their coach in waiting is defensive coordinator Will Muschamp, but we'll talk about him later. Garrett Gilbert, a tough task. He has to replace 45 wins from Colt McCoy, but Gilbert had get some experience from that championship game. He's got some weapons: Malcolm Williams, James Kirkendall, Marquise Goodwin, along with a bunch of running backs, including Cody Johnson. He's the bigger back. He had 12 touchdowns last year. But the problem was the offensive line last year. They could not run block for their lives. Right guard Trey Allen will be the leader. 148 rush yards per game last year. That's still good, but it's the lowest since 06 when they had 163, 31 sacks allowed. So they need to shore up some things and keep the young quarterback protected.
Yeah, and they're doing a change of offensive philosophy with Gilbert back there. He's a stronger arm quarterback than Colt McCoy. He's 6'4", so look for more vertical attack this year. So that O-line will have to change their philosophy and have to get nasty. When you do a spread offense, when you run a spread offense, your O-linemen tend to get too sexy. You know, we like to say they tend to want to be, you know, finesse players, but they're going to get back to that ground game. Plus, they have to find some consistency in that rushing attack, and Garrett Gilbert has to take the next step, the next stride. He showed me some toughness and some moxie in that championship game, so I think he's going to be a starter for the Texans.
Will Muschamp calling the shots for a defense that led up 72 rush yards per game, 2.2 yards per carry. Defensive tackle Sam Acho, breakout player for the Longhorns. He had 10 sacks last year, 4 tackles for loss, even 3 passes broken up. So this player, he's a versatile player. He can drop back too in some schemes. Alex Okafor, defensive end, he's a sophomore. Keenan Robinson, a linebacker, but their secondary is very strong. Curtis Brown, Aaron Williams, the cornerbacks, free safety Blake Gideon. They combine for 21 pass breakups and 4 interceptions, and now Chucky Brown provides depth at another cornerback.
Yeah, their secondary is the best secondary in the Big 12. Aaron Williams, 6'1", 192, is a star, lockdown corner, future first-round NFL draft choice. I look at the linebackers. I love the athleticism that they have. True freshman linebacker you want to keep an eye on. Jordan Hicks, 6'2", 220, a guy that plays the run on the way to the quarterback, plays downhill, aggressive, big hitter, so look for him to play a lot this season. Their youth on their defense across the board, depth-wise, there's a lot of freshmen and sophomores on that defense, and that could prove to be an issue, at least early on in the season.
Well, you know how talented they are, though.
Right, they're very talented.